guys. Okay, so you may recognize this. Your reading vlog video. Yeah, me pre-filming. Let's go. Alright, so I have finished books 7 and 8 of Outlander. Let's discuss, since now I'm like a good bit into book 9. So if I can find it. Here we go. Let's start with book 7. There we go. There we go. Okay, so book 7. We get into more of William. What the fuck? Sorry. Here we go. There's no more that's... It's like that. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So. We get more William. William is finally coming into the story now that he turns 18. Yay. We go back to Scotland. And Ian dies. Older Ian dies. Go to Scotland. It's good to be back in Scotland. Sad to see Ian die. And then Joan, Marcelly's sister, comes back in book 7. And her opinion on her mother and her mother's lover, Joey. Oh my gosh. Joan is a savage. She wants to join a nunnery and become a nun. Yeah. But she refuses to leave her mother, so that way her mother doesn't live in sin. You know they were doing it anyway. It's fine. It's fine. But we meet Dottie, Rachel, and Denny. And also, if you've been paying attention, if you watch the show, this would be the next book, next season. So we meet Dottie, which is Lord John's niece, Hal's daughter. And we meet Rachel and Denny, the Quakers. For Quakers. Dang. We got a lot of good characters coming in book 7 with a very good... They're very witty and very quick-minded. We love that. And so we all think that Jamie dies, because Jamie apparently dies. Well, or so they think. Because the ship that Jamie's supposed to come in on sinks in a storm. But he and Jenny, because Jenny comes along too, Jenny get on another ship, and they end up in Wilmington and then come up to Philadelphia. Instead of landing in Philadelphia. Lord John's the one that finds it out first that Jamie's dead and goes to tell Claire. But Lord John also gets a threat from Ezekiel Richardson, and he's a British officer as of right now, and he threatens to get Claire and probably hang her as a spy. So Lord John's like, I can do one last thing for Jamie. And so Claire marries Lord John when they think that Jamie is dead. Turns out it's not. He's not dead. He's not dead. So when he comes back, William finds out just by looking at Jamie who his father is. And everything ensues from there. Everything ensues to be picked up back up in book 8. Now, focusing on Bree and Roger, they are in 1980, and they're having some crazy adventures of their own. Mandy had surgery, that's why they left in book 6. Had the surgery, and everything's going well. Bree gets a job at the hydroelectric board as an engineer, mechanical engineer, something like that. And some of the guys she works with, well, she's their boss, really. But one of them, Rob Cameron, he knows about the stones. So basically, Jem gets kidnapped. And, well, William Buckley shows back up. And he and Roger are on good terms. They're kind of on good terms. They're on good terms. And they decide to, put that behind them. And when Jem goes missing, William Buckley and Roger go into the past thinking that they took Jem through the stones. So they go through the stones, but turns out Jem did not go through the stones. So Brianna finds Jem, Mandy's there. They go to Disneyland, they visit Joe in Boston, and then they decide to go back to get Roger and find Roger. And at the same time, Roger meets his father, meets Brian, Jamie's father, and Jenny, young Jenny. And while at Lallybrook trying to look for Jem, and they meet Dougal, and they meet Galus before they got together or anything like that. And wow, that's something. It's something, alright. So they go through that, they find that, whatever. Do that. That's mainly what this is about here. Also, going back to Claire and Jamie and them, they finally tell Jenny and Ian about Claire and the stones, but they don't really fully believe it, but they kind of do. But yeah, so that's it for book 7. If you want to talk some more, down below in the comments. Super cool. Willing to do that always. Now, moving on to book 8. This picks up directly where book 7 left off with Broken Chandelier that William broke. So, Claire and Jamie are reunited once again. The truth comes out about how Lord John and Claire slept together when they were married. And Jamie's not quite too happy about that. But let's focus first on some relationship dynamics that happen within this book that kind of started in book 7. But the first one here takes place in book 8, and that will be William and Jane. And y'all know, if you've read book 8, what happens to Jane. She hangs herself. Well, she slits her wrists because she's probably going to be executed for killing a British soldier who wanted to buy her sister's maidenhead. And Jane worked in a brothel. But overall, just in general, William and Jane, they are they're pretty cute together. They are very cute together, which I prefer William and Jane to another pairing, another relationship kind of that William has in book 9. If you know, you know. We'll talk about it when we get to book 9. But I'm very happy. This takes place in 1778, which the Revolutionary War is in full swing. In this book, William is a British soldier, and then eventually he resigns his commission closer to the end of the book. So then he is no longer a soldier in the British military. And then, if I remember more about William and Jane coming up, I'll just throw it in. But moving on to Claire and Jamie's dynamic, Jamie forgives Claire. Well, he doesn't really forgive her, but he loves her. But he cannot forgive Lord John for it, especially when it comes out that technically when Lord John and Claire were having sex, that they were both actually making love to Jamie after he had died. And they drank a lot of alcohol. Alcohol affects decision making, kids. It's not the smartest choice to go. Not the smartest way to go. But closer to the end, throwing this in, when Claire is shot during the Battle of Monmouth, Jamie watches it happen, and he's the first one there, and he's trying to figure out what to do, and he's incredibly distraught. Maybe not quite so much as when Claire was ill in book 6, but we don't really know for sure because we never got a Jamie's perspective for that. But in this one, he's there begging her not to die, and it's very moving. But after that, Claire's can we go home? And Jamie's I will take you home. And right after Claire gets shot, a general who isn't doing what he was supposed to be doing, completely, whatever, Nathaniel Wayne? General? Something like that. He tried to order Jamie to get his troops back in line. Jamie resigns right on the spot. He resigns right on the spot. Ding. Nope. Screw you. I'm done. I'm done. Okay, moving on from Claire and Jamie for now, let's talk about Ian and William and their interactions. They know they're cousins by now. They interact, it's always now we're even, now we're square. Nope, and then it all starts all over again with saving each other's lives. And they know they're cousins, and it's kind of somewhat of a sibling rivalry, just a little bit. But William is mad because before William even met Jane, William was kind of into Rachel, which that Willie, my poor boy, he falls for every woman that shows him a little bit of kindness, and he's adorable. He's absolutely adorable. A little annoying sometimes, but absolutely adorable. So William's really pissed off at Ian for that. But, but ultimately, Ian and William get along fairly well. They get along fairly well. So, moving on, the Hunters, and they all get married. So, Denny marries Dottie, and Denny, is It's what they consider a fighting Quaker, although he doesn't fight. He is a surgeon in the Continental Army. And Dottie, who is Lord John's niece, falls in love with him and converts to being a Quaker for him. Wow. And Hal doesn't really know how to take that. But yeah, they get married at a Quaker meeting. Super cool. And then Rollo. Can we take a second to acknowledge poor Rollo, who has been around now for 4 books, starting in book 4 to book 8. Poor Rollo. Rollo has died of old age. He's gone. That's just... I think that was one of the saddest parts of the whole book. Not quite number 1, but one of the saddest parts of the whole book. We love Rollo. But now, moving on to... We'll switch gears for a minute. Actually, no, we won't. So I marked on page 441. Let's see. Can I get there quickly enough? Right here. And it is Claire giving advice to Rachel and Dottie before they get married. And I will just read a quick first sentence, and I'll just continue laughing. And if he says, oh God, at some point, I advise, take note of what you were just doing so you can do it again next time. So that added a whole humorous aspect to it. I laughed for a good while when I read that. And then we'll talk about the print shop fire and Henry Christian's death really quickly. We'll just hit that. The print shop was on fire. Woke up, everything was on fire. Claire and Jamie woke up first, and they were like, the print shop's on fire. And everyone got out except for like Germain and Henry Christian, and they didn't know where they were. Well, turns out the boys had gone up to sleep on the roof to like look at the stars and sleep up on the roof because it was so hot in there in the building, and they didn't realize the building was on fire until like the slate roof got really hot, because no one thought to check the trapdoor in the ceiling. So Germain tried to get Henry Christian on his back and to like jump down, and Henry Christian could not hold on because Henry Christian is a dwarf, and a dwarf at 3 years old at that. 3 or so years old, and he died. So sad. Moving on, Bree and Roger reunite. They reunite in this book, in book 8. Or it picks up on their reunion in book 8. And then they're there, Buck, William Buckley. They run into Hector McEwen, who healed Buck before with the blue light. Same kind of thing that Claire has been exposed to, and that with time travelers and everything like that. And he tells Roger how he can heal people with the blue light, like Master Raymond did for Claire in book 2. This will still be a key part in book 9 and hopefully later books to date. But then the whole Buck and Galus thing, like, you fucked your mom. That is That is so weird. It is so weird. And the way that it sounded at the end was like Buck basically created himself. Like, basically created himself and then blipped out of existence. Because then Gale's conceived. So then was Dougal not his father? Like, I don't know. That's just weird. That is just plain weird. Like, what? And they kind of and most people tend to overlook it. I'm like, what? And then, the very end of the book, Bree and Roger and the children show back up at the ridge. And that is where book 9 picks up, and that is where we stop. So, once again, want to talk about book 8, any of the books, drop a comment down below. And yeah, see you next time. Bye.